What is up, guys? Dennis here. Today, I just wanted to talk about the SaaS playbook that I use to get to over 350 paid users for my startup called Planner. It took me around 3 to 4 months of building and then 6 months post launch to get to where I am today. And this is a very general overview, and you can check it out at uniplanner.ai. But in essence, it's just an AI planner for college students where students can upload the syllabi and our AI is going to extract all of the assignments and exams and their due dates and put it on a cool calendar for you. And there are some other cool features as well, but that's our main functionality. And I've just learned a lot through this whole experience of launching a startup and building a web app, building a SaaS. And I wanted to share it to the internet because I think a lot of people have some misconceptions on it. And you know, people aren't really as educated as they should be because with the explosion of vibe coding nowadays, people do not really know what they're getting into or really what the process should be when it comes to building something like this. Anyways, though, getting started, if you want to launch a startup, right? If you really want to get dirty and get gritty, as one can say, you first need the idea, right? And ideally some starting capital to sort of support you throughout this whole process. The first thing, of course, is coming up with the idea. The idea is, I think, a very important step, of course, because that's the initial spark. And I think that there are a few ways that you can go about it. Well, really, only two ways. First way is that you come up with it yourself somehow. A lot of people have said, you want to get creative somehow. You want to think about your own problems and try and find a solution for them. For me, that never really worked. I was never a super creative person when it came to business ideas. I didn't really see the world that way. So I opted for the second option. I found a creative friend, and my friend is always bubbling with ideas. And he had a few ideas and sort of came to me about Planner, and then we sort of went from there. And once I had that spark, I was able to sort of go from there and start building some of my own unique things. But getting started is always the hardest part. But if I were to go back in time, I would tell myself to just focus on solving one core issue out there. A lot of people try and tackle too many things at once, but you really just need to focus on solving one core issue that people have, one core pain point that is common um, in certain industries or in certain communities. And going off of that, ideally, you want to find an idea or come up with something in an industry where you have inside knowledge in and connections, because who you know matters a lot. And it really just helps a lot having an edge somewhere in an industry because it's going to help you grow in the future, as well as it's always good to have people that you can bounce ideas off of and to basically test your product with. And lastly, if you're really serious about this, um, I think having an LLC for protection nowadays is really valuable, and it does cost some money though. I will say that, so it's not necessary in the early stages, but I do think it's a good idea just to protect yourself, and especially um, if you're not super technical and you're vibe coding, like things can quickly go wrong, and so it's always best to just have an LLC so you aren't liable. But anyways, yeah, and then once you have that, you have some cash, and just be ready to invest in yourself a little bit. Going from there, once you have the idea, you need to talk to your prospective customers. You need to talk to your potential users, figure out what they're going through, what their pain points really are, really try and figure them out and really gain a deep understanding of what they're going through and how your product can sort of help them through it. One easy way to do this and to validate your idea is, of course, propose your idea as a solution in these conversations to these people and see how they react. See if it's something that they would want to pay for. And if you get signs like that, I mean, that's a pretty good sign for you to move forward with it. Once you do some more market research and you feel confident that people are going to enjoy it, you've talked to dozens of people and they all love the idea, then yeah, move on to the next step, which is building. So now building in 2026 now is literally as easy as literally like addition and subtraction nowadays. You literally have so many platforms to choose from for vibe coding. You have Cursor, you have Cloud Code. I mean, you even have like the worser ones like Bolt, well, like Lovable, whatever. I recommend Cursor, of course, and then Cloud Code as well. But you can literally vibe code anything now in 2026. And what's even more important is that all this is documented. There are libraries of prompts on the internet to help you build landing pages, back end, the front end of your site, like literally everything from the SEO. I don't even know what else, but literally everything is out there now. When I first started building in like March 2025, like Cursor was relatively new. You know, it wasn't as big as it is now, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like I had no idea. So, but anyways, yeah, I built my startup with Cursor, and I think it's the best platform if you don't have a tech background. Cloud Code is also great, but I do experience some limit issues on that. I think Cursor is great just for you to gain an understanding of, if you're new to coding, like what it is, and it can really help you a lot. And yeah, just be ready for a grind and lots of hours of prompting and testing. But whenever you have questions, just ask AI until you understand it. Yeah, back when I was building, I spent the whole entire summer of 2025 building, and I think I put in like 300 plus hours because I was low key a noob. I've gotten a lot better at vibe coding over the next few months, but yeah, it was brutal at the start. Let me just tell you that. But anyways, though, okay, so like now you sort of built the product, you've been vibe coding, like you've been in the lab, like, but you don't want to forget a few things. You want to keep talking to as many people as possible about your product to try and get their input. And then secondly, ideally you want to get a mentor of some sort to sort of talk to about your ideas and or just talk to someone crack that you know. And then one more thing about building though, don't rush into it. Like you need to have a foundation of Google Docs all about your product, what each page of the site is, what each page is going to have, the functions of each page. Um, you basically need to organize a folder of just like a dozen Google Docs about your product, or even just like one massive one. But anyways, though, you basically just want to organize everything about your site before you start to build, but still, of course, leave room for a future evolution of the product because that'll naturally happen. Things will come up, but you need to plan everything out because it just makes the building process so much smoother. And you can literally just, paste it all into AI and then it's going to code it for you. Like it's a joke what it can do now. It's literally a joke. But, anyways, that's what I would do. And the next comes a step that most people don't really like to do, which is marketing and distributing the product, which is why I have a marketing co-founder who does just this for me or for us. Anyways, so as I said before, like literally anyone can vibe code a web app now. So marketing and distribution has become more and more important for us and for Uniplanner. TikTok is what worked the best. We basically use pay TikTok ads, and we basically just found the trending templates on TikTok and use those. And ideally for this, you need to have some sort of budget for marketing, just to make things easier and to get more people clicking to your site. But anyways, you do want to experiment. You want to find what works. LinkedIn, Facebook groups, just find what works, experiment, see where your ideal user is living on the internet and try and target that as best you can. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. So now moving on to the next step. Let's say that you've been putting in the work, you have vibe coded a functioning web app locally, and you're ready to push it live to show the world what you've built. But you're missing one crucial step before that. You need to test it like crazy. When I first released Uni Planner Live, there were so many bugs in it because I was sort of rushed for time and I didn't check everything as thoroughly as I should have. This was a poor mistake on my part. I was getting so many emails daily. It was super embarrassing. I wish I just waited a week to really iron everything out and battle test the system some more. You basically need to test everything about your system, from edge cases to the whole entire onboarding flow for your customer, from homepage to registration to actually using your product. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, but it's necessary. And ideally, you want to test everything locally, and then move it to a staging environment, test everything there, and then once you're confident enough, then push it to production. And now moving on to the next step, scaling. Most people don't really get this far, but once you sort of start getting some paid users, you're feeling confidence, you've been fixing bugs, people love your product. Yeah, now you sort of need to go into the details a little bit more. You need to figure out the SEO stuff to make sure that you rank high on Google. And pro tip, you want to figure out how to get ChatGPT to recommend you when people search for like their solution to their problem with ChatGPT. And you want to keep pushing marketing. Ideally, you want to use the money that you're making to push it back into marketing, to invest back into the business, to drive more revenue, and to try and get your product more out there. What I really learned over this past 10 months now is that launching a startup, launching a SaaS in particular, is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Don't expect a boatload of users right off the bat. It's going to be a long ride, and you're going to just have to battle it out and compete, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. Because if it was, everyone would be doing this, but it's not. Most people don't really get this far. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So in summary though, this is sort of what worked for me in 2025. But in 2026, times are changing at a rapid pace, which I'm going to make a video on as well. But take what was useful here and apply it to your own situation. I'm going to be posting a lot more, and I do have some videos planned on just the 2026 meta for SaaS, in my opinion, and what I think is going to look like, and or just the easiest way to sort of get started. But yeah, that's about it, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.